Good morning, good morning. It's Pause with Elizabeth Elenor. We are talking about resolving conflict in relationships. So, hi, how you going? What's happening for you in this world today? Love for you to say hi in the chat if you're watching online now. If you're not, hashtag replay so we can come in and say hi to you afterwards. That would be awesome. Oh my gosh, conflict, right? Conflict in relationship is a really big topic, and it's one that we've all experienced at one stage or another. And so it's working out how to create healthy resolutions that work for both parties. Work on resolving it so that both parties feel comfortable with the resolution to a certain degree, right? Because that doesn't always happen. When there's conflict, there's always someone that, well, not always. We often find that there'll be someone that doesn't get what they want in the discussion. I'm just going to turn my heater off because it's hot. People don't always get to resolve the conflict, but we can compromise. And so this is an interesting place to conversation to have, because we can find ourselves always compromising if you are a people pleaser. So I'd love for you to share with me if you're a people pleaser while I see who's online and watching, because my thing just went off. There I am. Hi. Let me put that back up. Hey, Michelle, lovely to have you here. So let me know, just in a way of, sharing and having a conversation, how do you feel you normally go in conflict? Is conflict something that you're okay with? I know a lot of people, for myself, I grew up in a family where when there was conflict in the house, I was put in my room. And so dealing with conflict in a healthy way was not something that happened easily for me. I actually found myself withdrawing. I would unconsciously, my whole throat would close up, so I actually wouldn't be able to speak. I found it really hard, and I let people power over me instead of being able to speak up and speak my truth, right? I'd love for you to put in the comments how you deal with conflict, because it's different for each one of us, and it depends on how you were brought up as to the conflict that that has happened in your life and how you feel you've gone with it, right? And if you're dealing with conflict in your relationships right now, how are you managing that? How are you navigating getting your needs met at the same time as being able to have compassion and understanding for the person that's involved on the other side, right? So I went from not being able to speak my truth whatsoever to the point where my throat would close up, totally away from, I would distract myself. I would hide. I would not want to deal with conflict at all. There was no part of me that felt comfortable with it, even with friends, with family, all of those things. I just hated conflict altogether. Good morning, Sorrel, good morning, Irene and Jennifer. Lovely to have you here. Let me know in the chat. I'd love to hear. Let's have a conversation about conflict. So I've gone from that to being able to speak whenever I feel a bump in the system, right? This is my language. I define it as a bump in the energy. I feel that there's something wrong, and so I clarify it, and I come to talking about it so that I know that it's resolved within my energy field. And I've got to tell you, there was a lot of things in between to actually get to this place. And so let's break it down so that we can talk about it. Hey, Jody, let's break it down so we can talk about it from a perspective of how to navigate from really hating and avoiding conflict whatsoever to being able to speak up, speak your truth. Resonates, yeah. Speak your truth, be able to hold your own and do it in a way that you're not powering over someone, being aggressive, feeling like you're nagging, all of those things that we start defining ourselves as women, right? So let's break it down. There's a couple of points to this, right? So open communication is the very first thing. Being able to open freely and speak your truth. Now, let's be truthful here. Going from totally avoiding conflict to being able to speak your truth and deal with conflict in a really healthy way has so many layers to it. And this means that from this point here, open communication has layers, like each one of them has so many different aspects to it, right? I know for myself, I couldn't openly communicate because my throat chakra would physically close up where I couldn't even share my truth. Now that goes back down to childhood where I didn't feel capable. I was put in the room, so there was no healthy communication. There was no healthy conflict. There was a lot of arguments. There was a lot of aggression. There was, violence, all of those things. And I was put in my room and had to listen to it as a little kid, not being able to see it. So imagining all of the stuff that was going on outside, right? And then on top of it, my mom, man, we do some stuffed up things to our children, don't we? My mum used to come in afterwards and say, hope you're okay, blah, blah, blah. You'll never treat me like the boys do, will you? And I know, Mum, I'll never treat you like the boys, like this conditioning. Don't ever behave this way, right? That was a long time to get rid of that as well. So open communication and being able to express your feelings is a really crucial part of resolving conflict. So it's being able to look at, how do I do that? How do I feel comfortable and safe enough to speak my truth, right? Well, the first part of that is actually being able to speak it to yourself. Just going into the place of recognizing this is how I'm feeling. Because often if we're in fight or flight mode, fawn or freeze, any of those survival mechanisms, if we're in any of those things, then we're actually externalizing the experience, and we're not giving ourselves the opportunity to stop, pause, reflect. Hey, Loz. Pause and reflect. How am I feeling right now, right? Take a deep breath in, breathe, and just go, how am I feeling right now? Don't define it, just go into the space of how am I feeling right now. Often we will then, depending on your childhood experience and your conditioning, often we go into this place after that of negating that feeling. Like, I shouldn't be feeling this way, I should be feeling that way, right? It's not about making decisions about that, it's actually allowing yourself just to feel how you're feeling, right? Because, and this keeps on coming up, we've been talking about this, I've been talking it in different levels of my client journey at the moment, from the top end of Quantum Accelerator, we've been talking about it in Conscious Creator Circle, is taking one little chunk of the elephant, not the whole elephant at one time, right? If you want to go from freezing or fawning and avoiding conflict to feeling comfortable with being able to speak your truth and deal with conflict in a healthy way, then it's not looking at the big picture, it's taking one little step and incrementally breaking it down. And the first one is going, how am I feeling in this situation, and allowing yourself to experience that. Not judging it, not defining it, actually defining it. I'm feeling this, right? I'm feeling uncomfortable. I'm feeling unsafe. I'm feeling angry. I'm feeling pissed off. I'm feeling whatever it might be, right? Because when you just allow yourself to do that, you've got most of, I reckon it's about 80% of the work is the acknowledgement of how you're feeling, right? So first acknowledge it to yourself. Then if you feel comfortable, get into the space of being able to say that to the other person, right? Has anyone had that experience of being able to just go, this is how I'm feeling, and I'm going to share that with the other person? I'm looking up to the side because I'm looking at my phone. Where do you sit when it comes to conflict and being able to speak your truth? Do you feel comfortable and safe, depending on the situation, right? But have you been in a place where you've at least been able to take that step? This is how I'm feeling, and now that I'm feeling that, I want to express that to the other person. And that starts with the ease of just saying, when they try and negate it, you go, I don't want to talk about, I just wanted to say this is how I'm feeling right now, right? And giving yourself permission to feel this way, right? So that's the very first thing. Allow yourself to feel it, express it to whoever it might be with open communication. The other part is to stay calm and composed, because when you're in, and this is something, when I was teaching, I used to teach, Michelle, if you're still on here, do you remember Angel's Touch Baby Massage? There was me and another woman, Debbie, and we started the first infant massage instructing in Cairns. We were in the front page. We were in the front page of the Cairns Post because we were the first massage therapists to start a baby massage instructing company. And so you're the one allowed to speak. Yeah, they removed themselves from the scene. Yeah. Yes, absolutely right. When you just allow yourself to speak, people sometimes can't deal with it, right? We'll talk about that in a minute. So one of the things that when we were doing teaching women or parents how to deal with a screaming child, was the first thing to do, or a child that had colic, was to stay calm. And if that meant putting the child in a cot where it's safe, or somewhere where it's safe, and going outside and breathing for a moment, calming your nervous system, getting into a place where you're composed, and then coming back in that, and with that energy, that makes a huge difference, because when you're calm, that radiates out into the environment that you're in, so that you're then energetically putting that energy out, right? So let's put it this way, I might be jumping here, but let's put it this way. When you've got a conflict that you want to resolve, first of all, you want to think, what is my desired end result? How do I want to resolve this? What would I love to see, right? We're creators. We're powerful women. What is it that you want to see come to the end of this, right? And if it's a resolution where both parties feel comfortable, then keep holding that vision. And through that process, then compose yourself, feel calm, go into the space. How am I feeling? Express those feelings to the other person. How do you feel? Let's just stop for a moment and let's just go into the space of how we're feeling, so that we can talk this out as adults, right? When we start berating each other and we're coming to each other with aggression and carrying on like, what's the Australian thing? Like pork chops, right? When we're doing that, it's two little kids arguing about their toy. When we can come into the space of just let's stop and calm down, I want to hear your point of view, and I want you to hear my point of view so that we can come to some sort of arrangement. That's coming back into being an adult, right? It's so important. If you want an end result, there's going to be a healthy end result for everyone. Which brings me to the next thing. Focus on the issue, not on the person. What tends to happen in relationships is that all of the previous experiences and previous conflicts and unresolved issues all of a sudden come all up and cloud the conversation that you're having right now and the issue you're having right now. So if you have more conflict that you haven't actually resolved, then there's some work to be done, right? Especially if you want to keep in this relationship with this person. You need to bridge some of those conflicts. You need to resolve them, because when they're all bubbling up, because they've still got these threads of energy that have not been resolved, then all of these things need to be talked about one at a time, so that you can go into this space of, hey, I feel like I need to be heard in this situation and this situation. This is how I'm feeling. All of those things need to come up so that you can come to a resolution that's going to be favorable for both parties, right? The other person may not even realize that you've still got these issues from previous experiences and conflict that you've had, or whatever it might be, interactions that you've had with the same person. If they haven't been resolved, you need to be the adult and bring them up, right? Because when we're harboring all of this energy, it's stuck in our body, so it's holding on with ourselves, and this is what causes dis-ease, right? So this is a personal responsibility for ourselves to really take on ownership of how we're behaving, what we're allowing to be stuck in our energy field, and what we're expressing, and cleaning all that stuff up, right, is really important. So not going into this person is bad or this person is X, Y, and Z based on previous experiences, but actually just looking at the issue that's involved right now. This is how I'm feeling in this issue, right? That's the next one. How's everyone feeling? What's coming up for you? Have you got any unresolved conflict that you're hearing in your head going, yeah, I haven't finished that one there, right? It's still in the back of my head. I still feel like I need to express myself, and I haven't given myself the opportunity, and I'm really allowing that to affect who I am right now. This is cleaning up our energy field, ladies. This is the work. This is how you become an empowered person, right? Is really making these shifts. Okay. Next one. Seek compromise and collaboration. This is a big one, right? Because when you've cleaned up your energy, when you've expressed yourself, when you've allowed yourself to come to an understanding of who you are, how you're feeling, openly express that, listen to the other person, listen to where they're coming to as well, what are the things that they need to express, hear them, allow them to come in, right? This is a big one as a parent. Sometimes I've many nights with children from past. I was just about to say, Michelle, my kids are at that age in the hero and heroine's journey where they're looking at their mum and going, you did this and you did that and blah, 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 right? I remember doing it to my mum. We've all done it, right? Dad gets it, mum gets it, before they start becoming self-sovereign, if they get to that point, And there's been times that I've had to hear my children say, you didn't do the best that you could have for us, right? And I, like, I'm like, I want to go, that's crap, right? But that's what they're experiencing. So shut my mouth and listen and go, okay, is that what you think, right? Is that how you're feeling? I remember I bring this up on a regular basis. I spoke about this the other day to Tim. Actually, it wasn't to Tim, it was some friends coming over that stayed for the weekend. I remember seeing this image once. We are a bowl of fruit. We've got all of this conditioning from our parents and our teachers and peers and all of these things, opinions, beliefs and emotions and all of these events that have happened. And I can't remember the whole thing. I wish I could find it again, because at the end it says, everyone carries on because the boy's crying wolf, but no one is considering that the boy is crying. Is so powerful, because when you just allow someone to express who they are and how they're feeling, even if you disagree with it, just hearing it and validating, okay, I get that this is how you're feeling, right? Doesn't mean you've got to say, yes, it's accurate. But if you want someone to validate your feelings, don't you think that it's important to validate their feelings as well, right? So this is where we compromise. We go into the space of going, okay, I'm hearing you. Don't know if I agree, but I am hearing you. That's how you're feeling. Sometimes that's just enough. Someone to hear that they're being validated, that what they're experiencing is being validated, right? So that's one side of the coin. The other side of the coin is, if you're doing that too much, if you're the one that's constantly compromising, then you need to look at that as well, right? That goes back to the open communication and not being able to speak your truth. If you're constantly the one compromising, then there needs to be a shift the other way, right? Where you need to be in the place of feeling like you can move into feeling a bit more powerful and expressing yourself and being strong with that. In that place, when you can compromise and understand, then maybe a collaboration can happen in some form or another. And I'm going to park that, because the other part that's really important is having empathy and understanding where somebody else is at, right? Which is what I'm talking about. Is going, I hear what you're saying, I hear what you're expressing, I hear your emotions, I hear your feelings. Maybe I don't quite understand them, and that's okay, but I'm hearing what you're saying and I'm doing my best to hear and to understand where you're coming from, right? When you come from a place of being calm, having empathy, understanding, being okay with maybe compromising if you need to in the situation, right? Being able to openly express how you're feeling and listen to the other person. Can you see that energy completely changes a really strong conflict? It can completely negate everything. Now, one of the things about this is, if you're a disempowered woman, you found yourself in a place where you're not being able to express yourself, and you are in a pattern where you're the one that's always compromising, then that's something to look at. If nothing's changing and this pattern and cycle keeps on happening, I know in my first relationship, I went from being a very disempowered child in the family, the only girl, the last child, Dad was sick on a kiddie machine. Mum had to work all the time. She was a hardcore, intense woman. Dad was quite weak because he was sick. And so, you know, he dies. I go into grieving without realizing that's what was going on. Find myself in a relationship that's just the same pattern, right? I was the one that was looking after everything. I was the one that was the bread earner. And I also had the traits of my dad. So I would find, and I remember his mother saying to me once, I don't know if you're aware, but every time he says something and you say no to it, within 5 minutes he's changed your mind and he's got you to agree to it. And it was a revelation because I didn't realize it was happening, right? When you're in a place where you're constantly in a pattern of being the weaker thread, you know, the weak link in the relationship, and you're being trampled on, then something needs to shift in that relationship. And first of all, you've got to validate yourself, feel your feelings, and know that they are valuable and valid, and make some decision to change something in some way. Or you're going to stay in that conflict all the time and constantly be the one that's suppressed. And I've got to tell you, it's not a nice feeling. If you're in that situation, you most probably know it's not a nice feeling. And I want to tell you that there is another side to it. And it just means standing up for yourself and making those incremental steps to move into a different place, right? So if I hadn't have made the decision to start saying no and meaning no and staying and sticking with no, yes, good point, Loz. So and I say weak because I'm not defining weak as weak, but just giving your power away, right? Yeah, absolutely. And so I've got to remember that positive and negative to me aren't defined as good or bad. And so thank you, Loz, for picking me up on that. So moving through that cycle, there is a better way and there is a better place. So I have gone from a place of not being able to speak my truth to being so comfortable with it that in conflicting situations, I can see all parts of a situation, and holding myself accountable to who I was in the situation as well, right? There was a situation about a year ago where I went, okay, let's compromise. There was a situation, I won't go into it, but there was a situation where there was conflict. So I realized I was the party that could make the compromise. I made the compromise and I said, this is my compromise, let's do it this way. But in this compromise, these are the things that I want from myself, and these are the things that I'm holding everyone else accountable, so that this can come into a healthy situation for everyone. Everyone went, yes, that's brilliant, I love that we're going to have this new situation. I held myself accountable and I did all the steps that I said I was going to do in the situation. And then none of them did anything else. None of them held themselves accountable and did the actions and the steps that they said they were going to do. So when it came to the end of the situation and there was a new choice being made and they all screamed blue murder, that this is not what they wanted, I was able to go back to, well, remember this conversation that we had and all of us said this and no one did it, and they had to re-look because now we've got evidence of this was what was asked of everyone and no one stood up and did what they said they were going to do. So their own integrity made them lose out down the track. So when you hold on to your integrity and you speak your truth, then you have the place that you can take action from there, right? So ladies, if anyone is challenged with conflict in their relationships, is wanting to find themselves setting healthy boundaries, because boundaries is an important thing to look at when it comes to conflict. If you're someone that needs to address your boundaries, then drop boundaries in the comments here, and I will send you the link to a little mini course that we've got. I used to do it as a 5-day event, but we got so many good results from it that I was like, I really want this to be accessed all the time by anyone. Once you get it, you keep it for life. Is a really good process of looking at where you are, how you feel, looking at, whether those beliefs are accurate for yourself, and working out how to express that in your relationships. So if it's something that you're interested in, put boundaries in the comments, and we will send you our Boundaries of Love mini course so that you can go through it. That's going to support you with any conflict that's going on in your life and create healthy relationships, right? Conscious relationships. Love to all. Thank you for watching. I hope you got some. I'd love for you to put in the chat what you got out of that conversation that we just had, and what you'd like to hear, because I make these things up, right, based on what's going on in my life. But if you've got stuff going on in your life and you want to have a talk about it and get it out and hear my point of view, this is my truth, whether it's the right truth or not is irrelevant. This is my truth. Then put it in the chat and we can bring it up in the next pause, or as we're going along. I've already worked out next month's ones, but it will be addressed at one stage or another. Take care, everyone, and I'll catch you soon.